I bought into the dream, guys. Buying real estate, sitting back, collecting rent checks. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it hasn't been all fun and games, and buying multifamily real estate has been my biggest regret while running multiple businesses. Now, I'm obviously gonna talk about why I regret it, but I'm gonna talk about why I purchased it in the first place. Now, I had the money rolling in, I had the cash saved up, and I wanted to buy something where I could actually buy back my time and allow me just to make passive income, which is always what you hear with real estate. And you always hear that buying real estate is the safest play, or at least one of the safer ones to be able to build real wealth. And so I did. I bought 2 multifamily properties in Pueblo, Colorado, which you guys saw in the beginning of the video, a 5-plex and a duplex. And these were not very good decisions. And on paper, it made sense. Great cash on cash return, great cap rates, and of course, passive income, where I'm gonna earn income every single month into my bank account whenever the rents are due. But obviously, you learn a lot. Cash flow every single month in the background while I focus on my active income, which was my companies, Showcar and Social Refresh, my franchise business, and then obviously my marketing company, which I've been running for over 4.5 years now. The goal was to take that business money, put it in real estate, and let it appreciate and also cash flow at the same time. Except that's not how it played out at all. Let me break it down. The first few months, totally great. And then everything took a complete 180. Tenants stopped paying. I had to do over 10 evictions since I've owned these properties in the last 2 years, and things keep on breaking. And if I'm gonna be honest, that's not passive, that's stress. And when you're running multiple companies, having that stress added on just to make a few $100 or a few $1,000s is just not worth it. The 2 properties at one point were bringing in just close to $7,000 a month in rent. And then all of a sudden, a pipe bursts in one of the basements. And of course, who has to cover that bill? Me. And I lost out on all the money I made that month and obviously previous months as well. And so I didn't really see any profit after my mortgage payments. And if I'm making $7,000 off of rent, I still have mortgage to pay for, taxes, insurance, repairs. And of course, if a big repair comes out, it wipes out my cash flow for the whole year, which is kind of the terrible part about real estate, especially multifamily. And I'm not saying multifamily is all bad. I believe just under a certain unit amount right now in this economy just does not make sense. If you're under 20 units, to hire a property manager, it just eats up all of your cash flow and all of your profit, and you just don't make any money at the end of the day, especially if there's a big repair. And that's when property managers started dropping me, which is not fun. Because now I have to figure out how to manage the properties on my own or find a new property manager as soon as possible to be able to manage these properties so I don't have to do it because I am 2 hours away. And I cycled through multiple property managers. And a lot of property managers don't want to deal with headache properties, and I also don't want to deal with headache property managers. So I had to fire property managers, and I also had to find new ones whenever they drop me. A lot of them just can't handle the tenants, especially in an area like that. A lot of the tenants are not really, obviously, upper class, and so they don't want to pay their rents. They ruin all the units, and it ends up costing them more money to manage my units than it would just to not even have me on their books. And for me, as you guys know, I run multiple businesses, Showcar, Social Refresh, and so if I'm having to manage these properties, you know, the 7 units that I have, and manage all these tenants, it's just doesn't make sense. I can put that same amount of effort back into my business and make way more money. So I had to hire property managers as soon as possible. And the one thing about property managers people do not realize is it's not the 8 or 10% fee that you're paying out for them to manage the properties. There's also additional fees that they charge on almost every single thing that they do. So if they view your property, if they fix something, there's always additional fees, and they don't really show you those things. And once you start evicting tenants, that's really when it starts getting expensive. And I've had to evict over 10 tenants over the last 2 years, which can get very expensive very quick. And if I'm gonna be honest, when it comes down to these 2 properties, those 10 plus evictions have ate away all of my profits I've made over the last 2 years of owning these 2 real estate properties. Like imagine all of your profits are gone, not even off of a major repair or anything like that, but just because someone didn't want to pay their rents. And so now you're having to pay legal fees and you're waiting for the sheriff to show up, and it's just costing you extra money and extra time that was just not needed. And no matter how good you vet these tenants, I swear they still don't pay. They don't care. And it's the craziest thing to me. But in a market like Pueblo, it is pretty hard to get tenants to pay, and I understand, and I should have done more due diligence on that. Sometimes those tenants even live there for 2-3 months without paying rents because I'm waiting for an eviction, especially in a state like Colorado. It's really hard to get the tenants out of their units because it just takes forever to get through the eviction process. In a lot of states, there are a lot of rules and regulations that really do protect the tenants. And so it's really hard to evict as a landlord. And so you're sitting with a unit that someone's living in for 2-3 months and they're getting away with it for free. So I'm personally spending my money for someone to live there for free for 2 to 3 months. Where does that make sense? And I know it sounds sexy where you're like, oh, I own that property, I own that property, but really it's just an ego thing when you're not making money. Like there's no point to actually buying the real estate if you don't make money with it. There really is no point. Now, what have I realized over these last 2 to 3 years of owning these properties? I should have just focused on my companies. I should have focused on building more streams of income with my companies and just building out systems and making it easier for my employees to make me more. At the end of the day, these properties were great and I learned a great lesson, and they are up for sale if you guys are looking to take them off my hands. But I'm gonna be honest, guys, they just were not for me, at least the multifamily side. But I do love a certain type of property that I currently own today and has given me really no headaches, and it wouldn't really give a ton of people headaches because of how it's structured. And that's triple net properties. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the secret to more passive income through real estate is triple net properties. Now you still have to maintain them, you still have to manage them, but a lot of the expenses, or at least all of the expenses, are covered by the tenant, and it's usually through businesses. So 3, 5, 10-year leases, and those businesses have to pay their rents. It's a fixed cost within their business, and so they're expecting to pay it every single month. And let's say, for example, that lease comes up, they're willing to renew their lease because they want their business to stay in the same place. Their clients are so used to their business being in that one spot, it would hurt their business if they ever left. And so that's really why I love triple net real estate. I own one property right now, which is actually down in Colorado Springs. It's a lot better of a market than Pueblo, Colorado. And I also am able to rent out the sign on the property. I'm able to rent out the back lot on the property, and obviously the main building, but it allows me to have a property that has a 10+ year lease, and I have all my expenses covered by the tenants. Now, these properties are a lot more expensive to buy, but everybody's different at the end of the day. I know a lot of people who love multifamily real estate, but I come from a business where we're always looking for triple net leases in the retail / flex light industrial space. So I know exactly what I need for my business, so I know what other people would need for their business. And so that's why I like buying those properties, just because I know a lot about them. I know how to talk with the tenants. I understand their business a little bit more, especially when it comes down to trade work. And it just makes my life a lot easier when I know that they're making money to pay for the rent every single month, instead of relying off of them having a server job and then they get laid off one day at Arby's, or not Arby's, but Chili's. You know, they have a server job at Chili's, they get laid off one day and they can't pay their rent. So it's a completely different game. But like I said, triple net properties is the way to go for at least me, not for you, not for everybody else, but it is for me for the time being. Now, am I saying multifamily is bad? No. A ton of people I know in multifamily make a ton of money, but at the same time, they're buying properties that are 20, 30, 40, 50 units. For my 7 units, it just doesn't make sense, and especially in the market that I was in. Now, what did I learn? You're probably wondering, what did I learn off of buying these multifamily properties? I learned to do a ton of due diligence and checking out the conditions of the property, because if I'm gonna be honest, these properties are crumbling pieces of turd, okay? They are falling apart left and right, and I'm having to fix them and patch them every single day. And no one wants to deal with that. It's not fun. And doing due diligence on the neighborhood and on the area would have helped a ton more. I'm not saying Pueblo is the worst market overall, but getting tenants to pay in a bad market is just, it's a recipe for disaster. And I also would have done more due diligence and learning from mentors on what properties I should be buying, instead of trying to spread myself thin into multiple areas of real estate, instead of just finding my niche. Like, I found my niche, it's triple net, retail / flex / light industrial spaces. It's kind of all about the same, just depending on where they're at. But that's really my niche. I don't like multifamily, I don't enjoy it, and I don't know if I'll really get back into it just because of this experience, unless an insane deal comes up. I'm always down for good deals. But right now, I'm focused on what I love doing, building businesses. Showcar and Social Refresh always need my effort and energy every single day. And so I'm always rewarded a lot more when I put my energy into businesses than I ever will in real estate. Real estate is such a long play. And everybody says, well, if you buy one property, it's gonna change your life. Sometimes it will if you buy the right property, But at the end of the day, you're not gonna see it right away. It might take 5, 10 years to really see that property pay off with all the time, effort, energy you've put into it. And sometimes putting that money into a bond or a stock or something like that, you're gonna make a lot more money a lot quicker because you're not dealing with the expenses of taking care of that stock or bond. And it's crazy because you can get the same return without all the headaches of buying the real estate. And there is one thing I've realized about real estate that has really changed my thought between the question of stocks versus real estate. And it really comes down to how much emotions are involved in real estate. When you're dealing with real estate, it's a longer transaction instead of just clicking a button on your phone. There's partners, there's family members, there's friends that are involved in the real estate deals. There's even realtors that might be family members. And so it might take 30, 60, 90 days to get a real estate deal done, or even years to be able to negotiate a deal. And there's a lot of emotions that are tied into place. So easily transacting on real estate, going out and buying it or going out and selling it, takes a lot longer than just hitting a button on your phone, which is what you could easily do with stocks. So when you're dealing with emotions, especially like I did on these 2 real estate transactions, it just makes the deal a lot harder. And it also takes a lot of time, energy, and emotions away from me. And obviously my businesses, which is the reason why I'm telling you guys, please go rethink when you're buying real estate. Make sure you're buying it and you have the time, energy, and effort to put into it because there is a ton of money to be made. There's nothing wrong with real estate at all. But for me, as a passive investor, someone who's looking for passive income, which is always the promised thing in real estate, it can be very, very difficult to do, especially if you're not in the right market and you don't buy the right properties. Now, if I had to redo it all over again and go buy another multifamily property, I would probably buy a property that's over 20 units where I could put a property manager in place and I'm not gonna lose money. Or I take that same amount of money and put it into an investment fund where they're gonna take my money and go invest it for me, manage it all, and I don't even have to think about it at all. I get a return on my money every single quarter, and then obviously I get my exit whenever they sell the property. And I don't have to deal with all the emotions or headaches, and it's more passive for me. I'm not saying that all real estate funds are created equal or created the same. That is one of the things as a business owner I wish I probably should have done in the beginning, but you live, you learn, and you move on. And I think the best lessons can be learned through experience. Now, I obviously fail a ton, and you guys have seen multiple videos where I've shown you guys my failures because I think they are the most important lessons to be learned, and I'd rather show you guys my failures instead of just showing you guys my wins all the time. Now, if you are buying multifamily properties, there's multiple questions you have to ask yourself. And the first 2 important ones is, first off, is this property in a good area and is it in a high appreciation area? Because that's really the biggest thing you're banking on with real estate is the appreciation. And the second one being, is this gonna create passive income or is it gonna be another job for me where I'm gonna be working on it every single day? Because there are some great pieces of real estate out there that can be truly passive. But obviously, not all real estate is created equal. And being a 22-year-old entrepreneur, I've learned a ton over the last 4.5 years. And my biggest thing is I wanted to get into real estate. I wanted to put my foot inside the door. And if I'm gonna be honest, I'm really glad I bought these properties. I don't really think it was a bad thing for me. I learned a ton off of them, and it was actually such small properties that it didn't really affect me. Even if I break even or lose a little bit of money, it's just all about the experience at the end of the day, and that's why we're here on Earth. We gotta learn from our experiences and move on. So now I know not to buy properties like that ever again. Now, if you guys are looking to learn more about my businesses, ShowCar and Social Refresh, looking for your own ShowCar franchise, or looking to work with Social Refresh, our marketing team, or you're even wanting to learn how to run your own ads, click the link down in the description. It's my link tree, has all my social media pages on there, as well as links to all of my businesses so you guys can learn more about me. And if you guys did enjoy this video, go subscribe, like, comment, because it gets pushed out to other people and helps the algorithm so I can be shown to more people. See you guys in the next one.